O eternal and almighty God, from whom all power and wisdom come, we are assembled here before thee to frame such laws as may tend to the welfare and prosperity of our province. Grant, O merciful God, we pray thee, that we may desire only that which is in accordance with thy will, that we may seek it with wisdom and know it with certainty and accomplish it perfectly, for the glory and honor of thy name and for the welfare of all our people. Amen. We acknowledge we are gathered on Treaty 1 territory and that Manitoba is located on the treaty territories and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Anishinaabe, Dakota, Oyate, Dene Sulene, Neothok nations. We acknowledge Manitoba is located on the homeland of the Red River Métis. We acknowledge northern Manitoba includes lands that were and are the ancestral lands of the Inuit. We respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making and remain committed to working in partnership with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration. Please be seated. The Honourable Member for Spruce Woods.
On a matter of privilege.
The Honourable Member for Spruce Woods on a matter of privilege.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise today on a matter of privilege and argue that the member for Fort Rouge has breached my privileges as a member of this place by repeatedly calling me a failed political staffer and a poor quality candidate to be an MLA, which was put on the record in Hansard and is incredibly rich and hypocritical given his comments last Thursday in this place where he said he has to rise at all occasions to stand up against personal attacks on the floors of the Legislative Assembly. These comments were on the record, as I said, and have impeded my ability to serve my constituents, and so therefore I move, seconded by the member for Interlake Gimli, that this matter be referred to a committee of this House.
I thank the member for his point of matter of privilege. Before anyone else rises to speak on the matter, I would advise that we should all keep our comments relevant to the matter of privilege before us. Anyone else wishing? The Honourable Government House Leader.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker, I would submit to the House that it's not a matter of privilege. I would submit that the member opposite is simply attempting to waste everybody's time in this chamber here, bringing forward such a frivolous private member's matter of privilege. And certainly I would actually also submit and put on the record that I think it is incredibly hypocritical for any member opposite to attempt to say that the member for Fort Rouge is saying anything disparagingly when we know for the last almost 8 years what members opposite have put on the record in this chamber in respect of our Premier and several other members on this side of the House. So again, it's not a matter of privilege. The member's simply wasting everybody's time. Miigwech.
A matter of privilege is a very important aspect of what we do in this chamber. As such, I will take the matter under advisement. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I rise this afternoon on a matter of privilege as well.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a matter of privilege.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. We have both been members of this chamber for many years, and I believe we are both aware how serious of a charge this is. The ability for a member to freely participate in this chamber, to fulfill our responsibilities as legislators, is vital. If we cannot do our job unobstructed, then Manitobans that have sent us here to this chamber are not represented in the law-making of our province. I regret needing to rise today on this matter of privilege. Bosque and Gagnon write at length about the privileges of a member in the House of Commons Procedures and Practice, 3rd edition. These writings have informed much of what I say today. Personal anecdote about how important representation is, importance of maintaining decorum. House can get lively, but words matter, and we are representatives. The work we do matters. As many of us know, a matter of privilege must meet two criteria. The first of which is that I must be raising this matter at the first opportunity. The second, that it must be clear that a breach of privilege has occurred, or in the specific terms of assembly, that a prima facie breach has occurred. I believe that both of these conditions have been met, and Honourable Speaker, I ask that you consider what I am presenting to you carefully, as it has a direct impact not only in my ability to participate, but also on the public's faith in us as their collective representatives. I am bringing this matter forward at the earliest available time, as I needed to consult the House broadcast, as well as Hansard, as well as the relevant material, as to ensure that this did, in fact, constitute a matter of privilege. Honourable Speaker, the series of events and level of hostility I will describe meets these tests on several fronts. As Bosque and Gagnon write, it is impossible to codify all incidents which might be interpreted as matters of obstruction, interference, molestation, or intimidation, and as such constitute prima facie cases of privilege. However, some matters found to be prima facie include the damaging of a member's reputation, the usurpation of the title of a member of Parliament, the intimidation of members and their staff, and of witnesses before committees, and the provision of misleading information. End quote. On multiple occasions last week, the Premier manipulated quotations that I gave to the Globe and Mail in an attempt to avoid answering the important questions that I brought forward on behalf of my constituents and all Manitobans in my role in this chamber as the Leader of the Opposition. The free exchange of questions and answers is a fundamental component of the legislative process. This Premier refusing to answer multiple questions in this chamber is not why I rise today, but rather the despicable things that he said instead of an answer or any substance. Honourable Speaker, I chose as a profession to be an educator, to be a teacher. Had the honor to attend our post-secondary, one of our incredible post-secondary institutions here in this great province of ours. Became a teacher. Shortly after that, took a job as an educational assistant working with students with special needs. And I really feel, Honourable Speaker, that unfortunately, many of the things that the Premier had stated and put on the record last week, I think was trying to put a damper of the 17 plus years that I spent as a teacher and guidance counselor. I really felt that the time that I spent, and I understand that the couple members from the government side are speaking out of turn just yet, but I'm sure that they will have that opportunity to put some words on the record as well. The 17 years that I had spent as not only a classroom teacher, but as a guidance counselor, many of which had to work with students and the student services teams, not only in our school division, but all across this great province of ours, and made many connections with many other professions and professionals within the education world. Honourable Speaker, on March 12th, in avoiding a question about bail monitoring and public safety, this Premier made the accusation, and I quote, "Trans children are not safe with me in the political sphere." To accuse anyone of being a danger to children is a serious allegation. But to a former educator, this is an attempt to completely ruin a reputation. He also had accused me in the House of making transphobic remarks, called me anti-trans, and made allegations of other terrible things. Honorable Speaker, I had the honor and the privilege of being chosen by my caucus to be the interim leader of the official opposition. That means that as leader of the opposition, I am part of a team that will be holding this Premier and his government to account for not only things that they had promised during the election, but anything possibly moving forward. I did state in the Globe and Mail article that I felt in the position, and I had stated this multiple times before. Matter of fact, the current Education and Early Childhood Learning Minister was present when I mentioned this. He disagreed with me, but he was present when I mentioned this, that all parents and guardians within the province of Manitoba should be informed of anything that's happening within the education world, because, Honorable Speaker, at the end of the day, once those students and children hopefully graduate from high school, it is yet the parents and guardians that are still there. And my comments on this was definitely in regards to making sure that parents and guardians were aware of what is happening in the education world, and especially informing parents when it's more than safe to do so, Honorable Speaker. I mentioned multiple times the fact that I was part of a great student services team. We had resource, we had social workers, we had access to child and family services, we had access to housing, all of those wraparound supports for students, Honorable Speaker. However, I emphasize that this part, that we must wield that freedom of speech carefully, as speakers such as Parent, Fraser, and Dreger have all noted. And in 1987, Speaker Fraser covered the importance of speaking facts and cautioned against the damaging of a member's reputation. The privileges, and I quote, "The privileges of a member are violated by any action which might impede him or her in the fulfillment of his or her duties and functions. It is obvious that the unjust damaging of a reputation can constitute such an impediment. The normal course of a member who felt himself or herself or they or them to be defamed," I apologize, I have to back that up because I'm quoting. "The normal course of a member who felt himself or herself to be defamed would be the same as that available to any other citizen, recourse to the courts under the laws of defamation with the possibility of damages to substitute for the harm that might be done. However, should the alleged defamation take place on the floor of the House, this recourse is not available." Honorable Speaker, the comments put forward by the member, the MLA for Fort Rouge, the now Premier, are beneath this House, and they are beneath him. He knows what he said was unsubstantiated. He knows that he was doctoring the quotes to make political hay, and he knows the repercussions of making such baseless allegations. As I said in the start, it took me a little bit to bring this forward, Honorable Speaker. I appreciate the member from St. John's wanting to add comments, and I'm sure she will have the opportunity to do so in a little bit. To call me, Honorable Speaker, with some of the names that the Premier had called me, just because I am suggesting that parents and guardians be informed and in some cases consented to throughout the education world Honorable Speaker, does not make myself or 70+% of Manitobans polled transphobes, bigots, or any other incredibly harmful words that the Premier wants to put on the record, Honorable Speaker. In fact, as an educator, and I know that there's many in this chamber, as educators, on a day-to-day basis, we were all working towards and hoping that the parents would want to be involved in their children's education. Whether that's parent teachers, whether that's anything, Honorable Speaker. And for the Premier to stand up in his place and to start name-calling, not only myself, but anyone else who feels that parents and guardians should be informed of what's happening in the education world, is again, beneath the Premier. And that being said, Honorable Speaker, the point is that many of us are parents. Many teachers are parents. Many people in the 2S LGBT community are parents, Honorable Speaker. And it's just trying to make sure that that is there. We also know, Honorable Speaker, that this Manitoba NDP are familiar with these rules around the intentional damaging of a member's reputation. In 2012, Honorable Speaker, I understand that the member for Union Station wants to put some words on the record. I understand that they are wanting to shout me down at this time because they know that their Premier is wrong. Honorable Speaker, in 2012, Speaker Scheer found the cyber campaigns made against Vic Taves, then Minister of Public Safety, constituted an attack on the most fundamental privileges of the House and referred the matter to a standing committee. This example is important in our context because not only was this campaign linked to the Manitoba NDP, but the individual that obtained the information used in this threat is closely connected to those NDP benches. Honorable Speaker, we are here today representing Manitobans, and that this is a serious honor that we cannot and shall not make light of. The Premier rose to defend his Minister of Agriculture when he felt we had gone too far. He said, the Premier that is, the hypocrisy of this statement after the personal and baseless attacks he has leveled at myself and my colleagues is indescribable, and he knows this. As speakers in this chamber and in other assemblies have previously ruled.
Order, please. I would ask the member to please finish his matter of privilege and stick to the matter of privilege. I've allowed him quite a bit of latitude in getting off topic, so please stick to the topic and conclude soon, please. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm not quite sure where I've gotten off topic, but I'm going to try to...
Order, please. I would remind the Honourable Leader of the... Order, please. I would remind the Leader of the Official Opposition that commenting on something the Speaker's just said is not acceptable. So please carry on with your matter of privilege and conclude it quickly. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. As speakers in this chamber and in other assemblies have previously ruled, the unjust damaging of a member's good name and may constitute an obstruction and interference of that member. Honourable Speaker, I move seconded by the member for La Vérendrye, that this House call on the member for Fort Rouge to retract his inflammatory remarks and apologize, as well as direct this matter to an all-party committee for review.
Before recognizing any other members to speak, I would remind the House that remarks at this time by the honourable members are limited strictly to relevant comments about whether the alleged matter of privilege has been raised at the earliest opportunity and whether a prima facie case has been established. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker. First and foremost, I just want to, on behalf of the member opposite who's wasting all of our time, I just want to apologize to everybody that's in the gallery, particularly the individuals that are here to see the member for Kirkfield introduce his first bill, the Two-Spirit and Transgender Day of Visibility Act. The member opposite is delaying our member to be able to introduce his bill and actually wasting everybody's time in the gallery. So let me apologize to everybody in the gallery. Again, Honourable Speaker, the member opposite said it himself. This occurred, whatever his interpretation of what he thinks occurred on March 12th. That was 6 days ago, Honourable Speaker. Certainly wasn't the first opportunity that the member could have risen to raise a matter of privilege, again, in however he interprets the conversation or the back and forth that took place here. Let me say this. I think it is, again, incredibly rich for any member, but actually in particular, that member from Lac du Bonny, to get up into the chamber and talk about raising a matter of privilege in respect of comments that may or may not have been made in this chamber. All of us on this side of the House remember the years and years of disrespectful, anti-Indigenous comments that have been leveled against the Premier, transphobic, misgendering of our health minister, and a whole host of other comments, including from the former Minister of Finance, who said that I, as an Indigenous woman, would know all about gangs. So it is incredibly rich for any member there to stand up on a matter of privilege in respect of what they think may or may not have happened. I want to make it explicitly clear, this is not a matter of privilege. This is members opposite standing in the way, delaying really important government bills. We have amazing bills that are getting ready to be introduced. Again, including the Two-Spirit and Transgender Day of Visibility Act. That's what members right now, sitting in their place, allowing their interim leader to waste time here. That's what they're doing. That's what they're standing in the way. They're standing in the way of historical labor legislation that's going to make it better for workers here in Manitoba. That's what they're getting in the way of, and that's what they're delaying. So, Honourable Speaker, this is not a matter of privilege. Again, I would encourage members opposite. People are here to hear their member statements. I'm assuming including members opposite. Let us get on with the work of the day that we are all elected to do. Let's get on with it. Miigwech.
A matter of privilege is a very serious concern, and I'm going to take this matter under advisement to consult with the authorities and will return to the House with a ruling. The Honourable Member for Fort White.
Honourable Speaker, on a matter of privilege.
The Honourable Member for Fort White on a matter of privilege.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and I take this opportunity to rise on this matter of privilege. I do have a very important, significant issue that I'd like to raise as a matter of privilege in this House, as it directly impacts my ability to participate as a legislature, and for a matter of fact, everyone in this room, as a matter of privilege that I'm going to raise affects everyone. To regard to those comments on matter of privilege, it's very rich that the member from St. John wants to stand up and talk about the relevance of the
order.
That our interim leader has brought up the matter of privilege. A matter of privilege is a very serious and significant motion that's brought forward. And now the member from Concordia wants to heckle down and shout. And the member from Concordia may not remember, but everyone remembers that it wasn't only him, it was also the member from Union Station, the member from St. John's, the member from a bunch of other members on that side actually stood up and delayed very important issues. About 3 or 4 years ago, they went through this process. Now, the issue at hand here is actually very important. If they listened to what our leader had spoken about, they would understand. If they allow me the opportunity to address...
I would remind all members that matters of privilege are pretty important things that are being brought up, and I need to be able to hear them. And I realize that some of the things will be emotionally charged and cause people to want to be able to comment. They'll have the opportunity to comment when the member is done, and I would advise all members, matters of privilege, stick to the matter of privilege, don't vector off. The honourable member for Fort White.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And I was going to get to the matter of privilege after just addressing a few opening remarks, since the member of St. John felt it so relevant or important to comment on what was happening today. This is the democratic process in which we're going through. This is the legislative process in which we're going to, where members can bring up issues and concerns they have where they may not be able to fulfill their duty as legislatures. That's what this process is about. What our leader had mentioned as a matter of privilege directly affects his ability, his reputation, his image, his messaging as the leader of this party on this side of the House. As well myself. The misinformation, when the member of St. John wants to reference misinformation, it brings me right to my matter of privilege, actually. So with those open remarks, I'll get to it. I think that all members in this assembly need to pay very close attention to the words in which we say, to the way in which we answer the questions that are posed to us. I think it's something that all members, certainly on this side of the House, feel that's very important. When a question is asked to you, you answer the question. If you don't know the answer to the question, you admit, I don't know the answer to the question, I will get back to you with information. The responsibility of an elected official is to listen, advocate, and work for their constituents, to work within... Sorry, I am fasting. It's day 8 right now, so the mouth is getting excessively dry. To work within the legislative process to make Manitoba better. An MLA may be required to fulfill as many as 4 distinct roles. The role of a legislator involves understanding the spirit of existing laws, passing new laws, and studying, discussing, and then supporting or opposing the enactment of new laws. We might disagree in this House on what those laws are, what the validity of those laws are, how we institute those laws and move forward on them, but that is why we are all here. We are all here to represent Manitobans. We've been elected to have a voice in the legislature, and we, on this side of the House, take that very, very seriously. In a House of Commons procedure and practice, 3rd edition, Bosk and Gagnon clearly spell out the expectations that members of an assembly have the freedoms needed for us to do our work. Included in this is the freedom from obstruction, and this is the important part of the matter of privilege, so maybe members opposite want to pay attention instead of heckling. But included in this is the freedom from obstruction, interference, intimidation, and molestation, though often thought of as only physical obstruction. We know that historical precedence expands on this. You know, and I can hear the members opposite say that we're bullies and you're bullying and we're bullying and that I'm a bully. That specifically, Abby, you are a bully.
Shameful.
The fact that the members opposite, the minister responsible...
Order, please. I'd remind the member that referring to members by name, even if it's referring to yourself by name, is against the rules of this place, and I would ask the member to keep his comments relevant to his matter of privilege. The honourable member for Fort White.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I apologize for that. I was aware I was about to mention other members by their name. I was remiss. I thought I could mention myself by my name. But as I read that last line, and the Minister of Environment might want to listen to this one, included in this is the freedom of obstruction, interference, intimidation. And just before you rose, Honorable Speaker, the minister on that side, the members thought it was appropriate to say, the member from Fort White is a bully. You're a bully. I believe that right there on its own grounds would be intimidation, would be interference, would be obstruction. Everyone on this side of the House heard it. I'm sure everyone on that side of the House heard it. I'm sure people in the viewing gallery heard the Minister of Environment refer to me as a bully when I'm referencing legislative rules and practices that are done here. She might not like them. She might not like them. She might not like what I have to say, but nowhere does it grant her the right to intimidate or to say what the member is saying. A member of privilege A matter of privilege, Honorable Speaker, must satisfy two conditions. And if you bear with me, Honorable Speaker, I will explain why this is the case. These are that prima facie breach of privilege has occurred, and it must be raised at its earliest opportunity. The member from St. John had issue with the member from Lactamani's matter of privilege. I'll get to the timeline on mine. Bach and Gagnon write extensively on the historical precedent that legislatures before us have used to develop the rules by which we operate in this chamber. And that definition of what constitutes the earliest opportunity and expanded on it to be as soon as practicable after becoming aware of the situation. There are many factors that come into the earliest opportunity. A change from day to day in the House, various changes and moving parts within the legislative process, bill readings and debates, consultation, which is a much needed process coming forward with any sort of, whether it be a matter of privilege or a bill, which members opposite seem to struggle with the consultation process, meetings that are required before you come forward with a serious matter, various other factors that all must be done at this earliest opportunity. That being said, I have taken time to consult with experts, Hansard, my own notes, as well as refer to the House of Commons procedure and practice, as well as the rules we have agreed upon for this assembly. Honorable Speaker, I trust that you can accept that this matter of privilege meets both criteria, and I need to reference these materials before bringing this matter forward. Because a matter of privilege in such as when the Minister of Finance invited myself, and this is where the misinformation, this is where the inability to do my work as a legislature, but not only my work as a legislature, I would agree with everyone else's work in this legislature. If you don't have the right information, Honorable Speaker, it's hard to be informed. It's hard to let your constituents know. When the Minister of Finance invited me to his office, along with a Liberal colleague from Tyndall Park for a bill briefing on Bill 3, gas holiday, he's used specific language. They had assured us that in this session and later in the House, that they had done their due diligence on looking at what the gas tax holiday would represent for savings for Manitobans. The relevance, as members want to know, is misleading information. The inability of myself as a legislator to do the work without having all of the prior information. They assured us that they had done their work, that they had done their due diligence, Honorable Speaker. When it was brought up by myself and other members in that meeting that other jurisdictions had done the same thing and had seen the savings from this gas tax holiday disappear within weeks. The minister had assured us that would not happen in this province and agreed to provide us with information on how they would make sure that doesn't happen. We had agreed. They had assured that this information would be made public. That has not occurred. And yet, what did we see for this gas tax holiday? Exactly what members on this side of the House had said, that the savings for the gas tax would only be represented for a short period of time, thus interfering with my ability to do my job as an MLA and everyone in this building. Again, I will quote for the members opposite that and they can check the legislative process and the rules and the legislation. It is impossible to codify all incidences which, this is Bach and Gagnon, a quote, it is impossible to codify all incidences which might be interpreted as matters of obstruction, interference, molestation, or intimidation, and as such constitute prima facie cases of privilege. However, some matters found to be prima facie include the damaging of members' reputation, the usurpation of the title of member of parliament, and the intimidation of members. Sorry, Honourable Speaker. When you look at the quote from Boshagan here, you see directly there members' reputation. The inability to do your work with members' reputation, the damage, that speaks to the previous member from Laptabani. This one here is, and the provision of misleading information, end quote. Misleading information has provided by the members opposite has made it, if not impossible, very difficult for members in this legislative building to do their work. Honourable Speaker, it's clear that when you're not given the right information, you are not able to communicate that to your constituents, thus affecting your job, your ability to be an effective legislature in this building. Members opposite want to heckle and say, speak for yourself, speak for yourself. Well, I mean, maybe members on that side of the House are used to getting false information and then further putting false information out there to the constituents and further spreading false information to the public. And maybe that's how they want to operate. On this side of the House, we need real information, we need real facts, we need real numbers. When that was asked for from the members opposite, that was not provided. Thus, interfering with my ability to do my job as an MLA and everyone else in this building. Instead of the minister providing me with information and tables that were to be provided, I had tabled my own report showing that gas prices, and I tabled that in the House, Honourable Speaker, that as soon as gas pricing savings were instituted, within 3 weeks those savings were gone. So much so that the price of gas now is higher than what it was before. This was cautioned to the minister, it was cautioned to members opposite, it was spoke about at committee at length. Manitobans came and spoke about this, and the minister did not want to listen to this information, and yet instead put his misinformation on the record. That is where we are at, the misinformation. The evaporation of savings within 3 weeks, as we had cautioned. The document I tabled showed exactly what we had said in committee and in the briefing. Gas prices went back up. This is what we had warned about. This is what we were told would not happen, and did happen. Bosch and Gunn, you're right, and again, members want to continue to heckle. It is impossible to codify all incidences which might be interpreted. And I have other incidences we're going to get to which affects my ability to do my job as a legislature. It's impossible to codify all incidences which might be interpreted as matters of obstruction, interference, molestation, or intimidation, and as such constitute prima facie cases of privilege. However, some matters found to be prima facie include the damaging of members' reputation, the usurpation of the title of member of parliament, the intimidation of members and their staff and of witnesses before committee, and the provision of misleading information. I would ask everyone to pay attention to the very important last point, misleading information we spoke about. We would agree that it's very hard to do your job if you're given wrong information. Holding the provision of making sure you get the correct information, the Supreme Court of Canada, for example, you have to provide the right information. hold the provision that misleading of information constitutes a breach of privileges of the members of this House. And it is clear that this government, its premier, its Minister of Finance, and all other ministers on that side are guilty of that provision of providing misleading information. The provision of misleading information has occurred and has prevented me to do the job as an elected MLA properly. By providing me misinformation, I am now spreading that misinformation to my constituents. It is not only my ability, it's everyone's in this. Everyone in this, when we were sold a book of deeds by this government and this minister that gas tax holiday would make life more affordable. The minister failing to answer questions. Now, there's misleading information and there's obstruction of information. As is quoted by Bosch and Gagnon, I don't think you want me to quote again, but I can if you want, which says it is impossible to codify all incidences might be interpreted as matters of obstruction, interference. Not answering a question, Honorable Speaker, is a form of obstruction. There's no way around it. You ask a question, you don't get an answer. You ask it again, you don't get an answer. You ask it a third time, you don't get an answer. That is obstruction. Plain and simple. To the timeline, March 6th, questions were asked, no answer. March 11th, questions were asked, no answer. March 13th, questions were asked, no answer. And surprise, March 14th, questions were asked, no answers were provided. And that was the last day we sat, so today is the earliest time I could bring this up. It was a recurring pattern that's happened over and over again with this government of not answering questions. The member from Lac-du-Bonnet brought up the same point with this premier, how he refused to answer questions, instead deflected, obstructed, intimidated the member from Lac-du-Bonnet. It is very clear that this government, this premier, do not want to answer questions. They are obstructing from information that Manitobans have a right that they deserve to have answered. When this government now promised they would do things they said they were going to do, Manitobans have a right to see that. The savings is one example of that. When the minister doesn't want to answer the question and refuses, any of the ministers don't want to answer questions.
Order, please. I would ask the member to please keep his comments relevant to his matter of privilege. He's now dangerously repeating himself over and over again. If you have something new to bring up in relation to your matter of privilege, please do so. The honourable member for Fort White.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and I sincerely appreciate you for your guidance. When you're standing up here speaking, there's a lot of things happening, so I apologize if I've repeated myself. I'll move on to more dissemination of misinformation and how this matter of privilege is so relevant. The minister and government want to table have brought up a report over and over again. And I would ask the Honourable Speaker and everyone actually in the gallery, if you're to commission a report to write a report and you only get one side of information, you only have one input of information that comes into that, what's going to come out of that report, Honourable Speaker? The information you provided. I think it's pretty simple. If you want a report to say what you want it to say, you're going to provide one channel of information. And not only that, that information that goes in there, Honourable Speaker, you're not going to allow it to be audited. You're not going to allow it to be verified. You're not going to allow a third party to take a look at it before you present that information. This is exactly what this government has done. And they're trying to pull the wool over everyone's eyes in this province by disseminating misinformation.
Order, please. I've asked the member to please confine his comments to his matter of privilege. He's getting pretty far afield every time, so I would again remind the member, keep your comments relevant to your matter of privilege, and please come to a conclusion rather quickly. The honourable member for Fort White.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Again, I apologize. The relevance of that comment in the last time before you said it wasn't, is that it is clear as day that my matter of privilege is about misinformation, that this government and these ministers are providing to not only us as legislators, to everyone in Manitoba. So my matter of privilege is on misinformation, and I think it is important that they understand that this report that this government had done was a one-sided information report. It was unverified, unchecked, unaudited, unsubstantiated, and now this government is quoting this as it's the holiest of holy books, and yet the report within itself says it did not audit or independently verify the accuracy or completeness of the supporting information. I mean, that on its own should raise some concerns about misinformation and your ability to do your job. If I take that report forward, you know, Honorable Speaker, now you have the member from St. John saying sit down. You have the member from St. John saying sit down, yelling at me to sit down. I'm standing here talking about an important thing that's happening.
Order, please.
And I realize there are people in the gallery, and this is part of the democratic process. This is important. Manitobans have a right to hear the real information, and the member from St. John.
Order, please. I would again remind members that orders of privilege are very serious matters. I have to be able to hear what's being said, and I would again ask the member for Fort White to please hurry up and conclude his comments and keep them relevant to his matter of privilege, please. The honourable member for Fort White.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. You know, when we talk about intimidation, Honourable Speaker, it's clear as day they're intimidating.
Can't hear anything.
It's clear as day they're obstructing. It's clear as day they don't want me, as an elected official in this building, to speak about what's important.
Right.
They don't want that. That in its own is the definition of what I'm speaking about.
Yep.
Exactly what I'm speaking about. It's
proving your point.
intimidation. It's bullying. It is obstructing. This is what they are doing. It's not surprising, because this is what they do day in and day out in the House. When we ask a question on this side, they refuse to answer it and they attack. Refuse to answer and attack. And then they say, oh, it's disgusting you guys would do that. And yet, they're the ones that did that for 8 years on this side of the House. We are trying to ask questions. We're not attacking. We're just trying to get information.
Right.
We're trying to inquire as to what's happening with immigration, as to what's happening with our economy, what's happening with our justice, says bail. When this minister said he would have bail changed within 100 days, and it's over 150 days and nothing's been done. This is important. When they campaign on something and now they cannot execute on what they're doing, this is important for Manitobans to know. I'll get back to the misinformation of this MNP report. That again, I'm not questioning the credibility of MNP. They're producing a document based on the information they're given, unaudited, not independently verified, accuracy or completeness of supporting information. Now I'll move on. I will move on, as the Honourable Speaker has asked me to. That the minister,
Order.
time and time again, when asked the questions, will duck, dodge, dip, like dodgeball. We've all seen that. Honourable Speaker, the minister failing to answer. I'll move on now, as you've requested. So we've talked a little bit about the gas tax. We'll talk about the carbon tax, and this premier's clear flip-flop over a dozen times now. I can't keep track of how many times of flip-flopping on that. Further, in the House, it's outside the House, but you're inside the House, when asked the question, will not give an answer, or will obstruct from giving the answer. That's another issue on the carbon tax. Immigration, the same questions were asked, no answer given. BSC, which is a vital resource for building stronger communities in this province.
Yep.
Minister refuses to answer.
What?
It is a pattern with this government. It is a pattern with these ministers that they do not want to answer any questions. When you're not answering the question, you are obstructing from members finding out what the answers are. Plain and simple. There's no way around it. That's what it is. This was brought up as early as This was brought up at its earliest time, as the last time this came up was on March 14th. Today is the next day of sitting, so I believe it is brought up the next time. When this government wants to talk about making affordable living as one of their priorities, they are doing the exact opposite of that. It is an increase On April 1st, carbon tax will increase 23%, and yet this minister and government want to talk about a gas tax that is now higher than what it was on January 1st. They want to talk about gas prices that are higher when they could have, at committee, spoken about making life more affordable. And I know you're kind of getting antsy, Honorable Speaker. I'll circle this back to, I will circle this back to the simple point of when they say something on that side of the house, as government, it has weight. It carries a message. And when that message is misinformation, when that message is obstructing the questions, when that message is attacking the member opposite for simply doing their job, that is a matter of privilege. That is why we are elected here. We are critics. We are opposition. It is our job to hold them accountable. They might not like it. I mean, I know when the roles were flipped, it wasn't so likable on that side either. This is the process. You're going to be asked tough questions that you may not like. You're going to be asked and put in a situation you don't like, but as government, it's their responsibility to do that. I have a whole list of other examples I can go on and on about putting misinformation on that. I can go through every single minister and every single department that stood up in this House and refuses to answer the question. It needs to stop. These ministers, this government, need to be held accountable to Manitobans. They need to be accountable to the institution that we're at, that this is a matter of privilege. Sorry, it's really dry today. It must be hot in here. Constituents bear the brunt of this NDP government not putting the right information on the record. As an elected official, we have to have the right information and we have to have answers to the questions so we can move forward.
Order, please. I've asked the member several times now to conclude his remarks. He's going over the same information over and over, making the same comments. So I would ask him to please wrap up his matter of privilege and quit repeating the same comments over and over. The honourable member for Fort White.
Okay, thank you, Honourable Speaker, and again, appreciate your guidance. I thought I was referencing new points, but I will take the points may be there, but then the body of the context is the same, so I will refrain from that. I'll just use one more example, and then I'll move on to the closing remarks of this matter of privilege. Man. When it comes to doing your job in this building, you cannot do that without the right information. Plain and simple. The privileges of a member are violated by any action which might impede him or her in their fulfillment of his or her duties and functions. Plain and simple, if you're not given the information, you can't do your job. I've offered direct evidence of this. I'm going to offer one more of this, and this is completely obstructing, deflecting, avoiding, interfering with information. At committee, it was asked to the Minister of Finance how much it would cost to this government, how much it would cost to convert the existing 260,000 houses in Manitoba off natural gas to geothermal, as this government has said they want to do. They said they want to do it. It was in their campaign. They've said it in here numerous times. They want to take 260,000 houses and put it on geothermal or thermal, because the minister had gone back and forth and said geothermal and air is the same thing. We don't agree. Geothermal and air pumps are very different. But regardless, the question was posed to the Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance said, you can reference answer, was, that's a question that the Minister of Efficiency Manitoba can answer for you. I asked again, Minister of Manitoba Efficiency will answer that for you. Okay, we take it there. So it deflects to the Minister of Manitoba Efficiency. At committee, when that same question was brought up, read word per word verbatim, what did the Minister of Efficiency Manitoba offer for an answer?
What?
Nothing.
What? Nothing.
Nothing. No answer. I don't have an answer. Can I provide you with an answer? The Minister of Finance was maybe incorrect in deflecting you here. We don't have a price for that. When I offered up our own math calculations, the Minister cannot verify that as well. So the question is, you have one minister deflecting to another minister, you have another minister saying, no, I'm not going to answer that question. That is by definition obstruct. It's deflecting and it's obstructing. Manitobans want to know. Now I will wrap up. It's upsetting that the minister cannot provide that data since this was something that they had ran on and campaigned that this was what they're going to do. Honourable Speaker, it is clear that this NDP government is not forthcoming with information and therefore making it very difficult to do our jobs. As Bosch and Gagnon write, and I quote again, it is impossible. Last time, and I won't say it again, Honourable Speaker, I know you gave me some leeway here, so I appreciate that. It is impossible to codify all incidences which might be interpreted as matter of obstruction, interference, molestation, or intimidation, and such constitute prima facie cases of privilege. However, some matters found to be prima facie include the damaging of a member's reputation, the usurpation of the title of member of parliament, the intimidation of members and their staff and witnesses before committees, and the provision of misleading information. This is a serious matter, Honourable Speaker. It has deeply affected all of our abilities in this building to do their job as legislators. If I had been made aware of this non-data of the gas tax savings or the cost of conversions, I would...
Order, please. I would ask the member to conclude his statement now. He's repeated the same things over and over again. It's not actually going to help resolve the issue. So if the minister would keep his comments relative and wrap up now, that would be greatly appreciated. The honourable member for Fort White.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. This is the last paragraph here, then I'm done, Honourable Speaker. I mean, this is direct intimidation is what I'm talking about in the House. Direct intimidation, obstruction of trying to do our job. The members opposite have such a short memory that they seem to forget that they've done this for the last 8 years. They did this every single session. That they spoke at length, and because it's the democratic legislative process, we let it occur. Now, wrapping up, taking all of this into consideration, Honourable Speaker, I move, seconded by the member from Agassiz, that this House refer to this matter on all party committee for consideration. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Good.
The Honourable Opposition House Leader on House business.
Could you please canvass the House for leave to pause this matter of privilege so that the House may consider members' statements, private member statements, with the understanding that after the 5 statements, we will immediately resume this matter of privilege.
Is there leave to pause this matter of privilege so that the House may consider member statements with the understanding that after the 5 statements, we will immediately resume this matter of privilege? Is there leave? Leave has been agreed. Routine proceedings, members' statements. The Honourable Minister of Families.
If I can just have a bit of leeway, Honourable Speaker. I'm going to say the member statement now, folks. Can I just have like 2 seconds? Okay, thank you.
I would ask the member to proceed with her statement.
Just, they're making their way down. They need a little bit of help. Okay. Miigwech, Honourable Speaker. Today, I'm honored, I want to honor the very special friendship of Russ and Fred, who join us in the gallery. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Russ had challenges connecting with people in the community, and because of the isolation, he had a hard time meeting new friends. Russ and Fred met back in 2022 at the Autism Ride and Poker Derby annual fundraiser. As a huge fan of Harley-Davidson, Russ was thrilled to learn the ride would be hosted by the Winnipeg Harley-Davidson store, and he volunteered to sell raffle tickets. Russ and Fred started talking over lunch, and the two instantly bonded over their shared love of all things motorcycle. After their meal together, Russ checked out Fred's bike and got to see it in action. The pair now meet up regularly to swap stories and pictures from their lives, whether it be a cool car or the bike they found, a WWE wrestling show, or a precious memory of friends and families. This has made a positive impact on both of their lives, and Russ has been much happier with his friend, Fred. Through the friendship, Russ welcomed Fred into a wider community surrounding St. Amant, a non-for-profit organization dedicated to supporting folks with developmental disabilities, autism, and acquired brain injuries. With 2,200 people with disabilities and over 2,000 staff work together every day to lead deeply authentic and meaningful lives as part of our Manitoba community. By placing the values of collaboration, hospitality, excellence, and respect at the core of their work, everyone at St. Amant plays an important role in advancing the cause of inclusion across the province. Russ and Fred's friendship highlights all that is good and the value of taking time to see one another as family in this big, beautiful province of ours. Miigwech to Russ, Fred, and the whole St. Amant team for your invaluable contributions to our province and our communities. If I can ask everyone to honor our special guests in the House today.
Today I rise to recognize one of the many gems of my constituents. Sorry?
The honourable member for Swan River.
Thank you. Today I rise to recognize one of the many gems of my constituency, Thunder Hill Ski Area, located 30 kilometers west of Swan River. Thunder Hill serves as a place of recreation for families, school groups, and outdoor enthusiasts. It has 24 groomed trails where 200 plus skiers and snowboarders will come on any given weekend to challenge the largest vertical drop in Manitoba of 450 feet and two of the longest runs of over 1.2 kilometers. Thunder Hill was started in 1967 as a centennial project by Benito Elks. In 1974, a group formed the Thunder Hill Ski Club. Upgrades were done, and in 2013, a modern T-bar was installed, which allowed for expansion of the ski area. A group of Hill supporters gathered in 2020 with a vision to replace the existing chalet and rental facility located on top of the hill. This vision included a facility at the base of the multi-season use, including multi-use trail systems for mountain biking, hiking, snowshoeing, and cross-country skiing. This vision initiated a fundraising campaign which 110 individual organizations and business sponsors came together and generated over $1.3 million to build the new Swan Valley Co-op Chalet. The province, under leadership of the PC government, was able to join the effort with the $300,000 BSC funding, and so construction began in the spring of 2021. The group was successful in applying for an ACSC funding towards a magic carpet lift for new skiers. The ski area will also repurpose 2 COVID shelters into first aid and ski instructor facilities. Thank you to the many builders, donors, and volunteer committee members for your work in making Thunder Hill a first-class facility to bring joy to so many when it comes to ski in the prairies.
Still have 10 seconds. Honourable member for Lodge-Modier.
Honourable Speaker, I rise today to acknowledge the contributions of the Canadian Palestinian Association of Manitoba. Founded in 2013, CPAM is a community organization that helps newcomers find success and brings people together. Celebrating and preserving Palestinian culture for future generations is a central goal for the organization. Sharing their heritage and history through crafts, cooking, and dabka, a Palestinian style of dance, instills a sense of pride in younger generations and builds bridges across the province. As they care for their growing community, raising awareness of the issues faced by Palestinians has become a necessary part of their work. CPAM has continued to work in collaboration with many organizations on demonstrations, vigils, fundraisers, academic panels, and family events. Their bridge building and education has brought together labor, academia, cultural communities, faith groups, queer and Indigenous organizations. Confronting the dehumanizing effects of Islamophobia and anti-Palestinian sentiment is an everyday reality. As part of that work, they recently partnered with national organizations to bring Canadian MPs to the West Bank. We are gathered here during the holy month of Ramadan, as CPAM raises awareness and lives with the knowledge their family and friends in Gaza are facing starvation. Just last month, the community established a mosque in St. James. Beit Nabala Mosque is named after a historical village that many Palestinian Manitobans tie their histories to, and whose families were displaced from in 1948. The mosque also serves as the offices for CPAM. Palestinians have lived here in Manitoba for over 60 years. They are business owners, lawyers, students, academics, professionals, and valued members of the community. Palestinian history is Manitoban history. Our province is stronger because of the work, activism, and community building that CPAM has taken on over the years. We have in the gallery Ramzi Zeid, their president, members of his family, and members of CPAM. Thank you for your continued commitment to your community, to bridge building, and a more just and equitable world.
The honourable member for Riding Mountain.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. High Life, a global food company and Neepawa's largest employer, has a new Chief Executive Officer following the retirement of Grant Lazaruk. Lazaruk, who grew up on a farm near Oakburn and was educated in Rossburn, served as CEO of one of the largest pork-producing companies in Canada since 2010, before retiring at the end of February. When the farm boy joined the company, there were 65 employees at the first Christmas party. Today, there are 2,800 employees. In 2010, weanling pigs were sold into markets in the United States. Today, High Life sells pork around the world. High Life has gone from a company representing a pair of farm families to a multinational company, and Lazaruk has been an integral part of the company every step of the way, guiding High Life through both prosperous and challenging times. The 60-year-old Steinbach resident said he is confident in the solid leadership team in place at High Life and believes now is the right time to step back and focus on his family and his community. Lazaruk has always believed in giving back to his community and serves in a leadership role with the Steinbach Pistons of the Manitoba Junior Hockey League. He is also involved in the planning and construction of the Southeast Event Centre in Steinbach. Thank you, Grant, for your years of work in growing High Life into a major employer and contributor to the Manitoba economy, as well as one of the best food companies in the world. Congratulations from your friends and relatives in the Riding Mountain constituency, and indeed all Manitobans, on your well-deserved retirement.
The honourable member for Fort Garry.
Honourable Speaker, it's my pleasure to rise today and speak on the incredible milestones of the Earl Grey Community Centre and Dante Day Nursery. This year, the Earl Grey Community Centre will be celebrating their 100th anniversary, and Dante Day Nursery will be recognizing their 50th. Over 100 years ago, a group of ambitious community members came together in the block of Fleet, Garwood, and Dudley to contemplate what would best benefit the residents of Earl Grey. Deciding on a skating rink and a baseball diamond in 1924, the project eventually led to the Earl Grey's first clubhouse, a donated boxcar from CN Railroad. Today, the Earl Grey Community Centre is doing its part to keep our community vibrant. They offer a variety of recreational programs like movie nights, sports games, family dances, fundraisers, craft sales, and seniors activities. Located in the same building, Dante Day Nursery has been providing childcare services to families in Fort Garry since 1974. Established by founding members like Maria Ursi and Francis McGuigan, this nursery has been resoundingly successful in providing safe, caring, high-quality care to all children who attend. I would like to congratulate Karen Webster, the director of Dante Day Nursery, Sue Ann Campbell, the general manager of Earl Grey Community Centre, and all the staff and volunteers throughout the years who made these remarkable milestones possible. On June 21st, both centers will be hosting a joint annual family fun night. I look forward to celebrating this amazing accomplishment with them, and I hope my colleagues will join me in doing the same. Thank you.
Before recognizing any other members to speak, as previously agreed, we'll now return to the matter of privilege. Before recognizing any other members to speak, I would remind the House that remarks at this time by honorable members are limited strictly relevant comments about whether the alleged matter of privilege has been raised at the earliest opportunity and whether a prima facie case has been established. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker. For the third time today, it's my honor to get up in the House and disabuse what the member for Fort White has put on the record. First and foremost, let me just say, Honourable Speaker, which I suspect most people in this chamber would know, it wasn't the earliest opportunity that the member had to get up and raise a matter of privilege. So I would submit that to your leadership, Honourable Speaker. And, you know, I find it particularly amusing that that particular member would get up in the House and claim that members on this side of the House are bullying him, when that member, and actually every single member across the way, chose to stand in support and champion and celebrate a provincial election campaign on the backs of and at the risk of and the detriment to trans youth in Manitoba. In fact, the member opposite was the face of a political campaign that chose to put trans youth in Manitoba at risk. He was the face of it. There is nothing more, there's not a quintessential example of bullying than what that member stood for during the election. And that member stood up for all Manitobans and actually for all Canada to see, in which, you know, I know that the members opposite don't have much connection with folks across the Canada, but I can tell you that people across Canada were absolutely disgusted with the political campaign that the members opposite, again, all signed on to, including a political campaign on the backs of and on the murders of Indigenous women. That's what members opposite chose to do. So when the member opposite gets up in this chamber and tries to say that he's being bullied, we know that that's absolutely nonsense. What the members opposite are attempting to do today is block really important legislation in our province. Legislation that will revolutionize labor law, legislation that is looking at trans.
I would request that the member keep her comments relevant to the matter of privilege. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker. Let me just say this. No member opposite, including the member for Fort White, has a leg to stand on in respect of anything that they've tried to present to the chamber here today and to Manitobans. in respect of being bullied or not being able to do their job, or however they construct whatever they heard, they have not a leg to stand on. In fact, members opposite, including the members that have gotten up today, are really the face of what they're trying to blame our members over here. It's not a matter of privilege, and I suspect that the Honourable Speaker will rule it as such in his due time. Thank you much.
The Honourable Member for Tyndall Park on the same matter of privilege.
Yes, Honourable Speaker, on the same matter of privilege.
The Honourable Member for Tyndall Park.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm not going to speak for very long. I don't want to stand between legislation being introduced, especially while we have guests up here in the gallery. But I did want to express just a few thoughts, Honourable Speaker. I remember it was not very long ago that when the NDP were in opposition, they used this very same tactic, we're going to say, for multiple days. We now see multiple weeks, perhaps. We now see the PCs perhaps are doing the same. It might be a little early to tell, but we are a couple of hours now into the afternoon, Honourable Speaker, and it is disheartening when we come to work, we come here to serve our constituents. We come here to work for Manitobans. We know that we need to be debating the petroleum situation. It's being characterized as compromised right now, Honourable Speaker. There are a lot of further discussions we could be having, and as opposition, as independent members, we need to do our best job to hold this government accountable, and I believe in order to do that, we need to continue on with orders of the day. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
On a matter of privilege, Honourable Speaker.
I'd advise the Honourable Member for Brandon West that we've not finished dealing with this matter of privilege. On this matter of privilege, I have a ruling for the House. On the matter of privilege raised by the Honourable Member for Fort White, I would like to inform the House that this is clearly a difference of the facts. Past Manitoba speakers have ruled on several similar occasions that a dispute between two members as to allegations of fact does not constitute a breach of privilege. Bosque and Gagnon advise on page 148 of the House of Commons Procedure and Practice that if a question of privilege involves a disagreement between two or more members as to facts, the Speaker typically rules that such a dispute does not prevent members from fulfilling their parliamentary functions, nor does such a disagreement breach the collective privilege of the House. Beauchesne, citation 31 sub 1, advises that a dispute arising between two members as to allegations of facts does not fulfill the conditions of parliamentary privilege. Joseph Mango on page 223 of the second edition of Parliamentary Privilege in Canada states, a dispute between two members about questions of facts said in a debate does not constitute a valid question of privilege because it is a matter of debate. I would therefore rule that the Honourable Member does not have a prima facie case of privilege. The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
With the utmost respect, Honourable Speaker, I challenge your ruling.
The ruling of the Speaker has been challenged. All those in favor of supporting the ruling of the Speaker, please rise. Please say aye. Aye. All those opposed to the ruling of the Speaker, please say nay. Nay. In my opinion, the ayes have it. The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
On a recorded vote, please, Honourable Speaker.
A recorded vote has been requested. Call in the members. Order, please. The 1-hour time limit provided for the ringing of the division bells has expired. I am directing the bells be turned off and the House proceed to the vote. The question before the House is, shall the ruling of the Speaker be sustained? All those in favor, please rise.
Okay, nice and slow.
Honorable Minister Fontaine.
Honorable Minister Fontaine.
Honorable Minister Altomare.
Honorable Minister Altomare.
Honorable Mr. Weeb.
Honorable Mr. Weeb.
Honorable Minister Asaguara.
Honorable Minister Asaguara.
Honorable Minister Sala.
Honorable Minister Sala.
Honorable Mr. Costishan.
Honorable Mr. Costishan.
Honorable Ms. Smith.
Honorable Ms. Smith.
Ms. Laughlin.
Ms. Laughlin.
Honorable Mr. Bushy.
Honorable Mr. Bushy.
Honorable Minister Marcelino.
Honorable Minister Marcelino.
Honorable Minister Schmidt.
Honorable Minister Schmidt.
Honorable Mr. Moses.
Honorable Mr. Moses.
Honorable Minister Cable.
Honorable Minister Cable.
Honorable Minister Naylor.
Honorable Minister Naylor.
Emily Sandu.
MLA Sandu.
Mrs. Schott.
Mrs. Schott.
Mr. Blaschko.
Yep.
Emily Malloway.
MLA Malloway.
Mr. Blaschko.
Mr. Blaschko.
Emily Chen.
MLA Chen.
Emily Moyes.
MLA Moyes.
Emily Pankratz.
MLA Pankratz.
Emily Devgan.
MLA Devgan.
Emily Loisel.
MLA Loisel.
Mr. Oxenham.
Mr. Oxenham.
Emily Dela Cruz.
MLA Dela Cruz.
Mr. Brar.
Mr. Brar.
Emily Morose.
MLA Morose.
Mr. Wasiliev.
Mr. Vasiliev. Mr. Vasiliev.
All those in the chamber opposed to the motion, please rise.
Mr. Owasco.
Mr. Wasco.
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Pinuk.
Mr. Pinuk.
Mrs. Cook.
Mrs. Cook.
Mr. Nesbitt.
Mr. Nesbitt.
Mr. Wharton.
Mr. Wharton.
Mr. Gertson.
Mr. Gertson.
Ms. Byram.
Ms. Byram.
Mr. Khan.
Mr. Khan.
Mr. Wochuk.
Mr. Wochuk.
Mr. Balkin.
Mr. Balkin.
Mr. Schuler.
Mr. Schuler.
Ms. Smith, Stephenson.
Ms. Stephenson.
Emily Bariza.
MLA Bariza.
Mr. Ginter.
Mr. Ginter.
Mr. Narth.
Mr. Narth.
Mr. King.
Mr. King.
Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Jackson. Well done. Okay.
We will now conduct the alphabetical roll call of members participating virtually. As a reminder to all virtual members, please respond clearly with either I vote yes or I vote no, only when your name is called. I would also remind members to unmute their mics only when they are recognized and then immediately mute it again once they have declared their vote. The page will now conduct the vote.
Emily Cross.
I vote yes.
MLA Cross votes yes.
Emily Lagacé.
I vote no.
MLA Lagacé votes no.
Emily Redhead.
I vote yes.
MLA Redhead votes yes. Well done. Great work. Yeas 30, nays 19.
The motion is accordingly passed. The honourable member for... The ruling is accordingly sustained. The honourable member for Brandon West.
On a matter of privilege,
Honourable member for Brandon West on a matter of privilege.
Honorable Speaker, I rise today to raise a matter of privilege. Though I may be new to this House, as has been pointed out by the honourable member for St. John's several times, I comprehend the amazing responsibility that we have been given by all Manitobans, each and every one of us, to be in here and to rise on a matter of privilege.
Hear, hear.
We are here on their behalf, and we need to be able to do our jobs and represent them, each and every one of them. That is why I rise on this very, very important and significant issue, as it directly impacts my ability to represent them. That is why I think it's something that all members opposite should pay very close attention to. And it's something that I think that all members, and certainly on this side of the House, feel is an important matter of privilege. In House of Commons, Procedure and Practice, in the 3rd edition, Bosch and Gagnon clearly spell out the expectation that members of an assembly have and the freedoms that are needed for us to do our work. Included in this freedom is freedom from obstruction, interference, intimidation, and molestation. Though often thought of as only physical obstructions, we know that historical precedents matter, and they expand on this. And as it should, as no member in this House should be obstructed from doing their duty and their due diligence. There are 2 criteria that a point of privilege must meet. And I'm sure everyone is well aware of that in this House, but I will reiterate it. It must be raised at the first available opportunity, and it must be a clear example of a violation of privilege. The situation that I am raising today meets both of these criteria, and this is the first opportunity that I have had to raise it, only after consulting Hansard and other relevant material, as well as Bosch and Gagnon and their informative text. Representing my constituency, the constituency of Brandon West, it is of utmost importance and is paramount to my duties to be able to speak to this matter of privilege. Representation is the cornerstone of being an effective and productive member of this esteemed chamber. It is also an expectation of my and collectively our constituents of this great province. If a member of this legislative assembly cannot represent their constituents, then public trust and confidence is eroded in a system that is set up in such a democratic fashion. Each of us was sent to this great chamber to represent our ridings. And it is not only an honor and a great, great privilege to do that, but it's an expectation that is bestowed upon each and every one of us in this House. I personally put my name forward to become a member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, as I have deep and unwavering belief in freedoms that we as Canadians and by default Manitobans all have. I've spent my career making sure that these freedoms are respected and these freedoms are granted to each and every one of us. The freedom of expression.
Yeah, that's right.
The freedom of expression, Honorable Speaker, is at the very height, the very top of this list. I put my name forward to represent the people of Brandon West so that I could continue my long career of public service to my constituency, to my community, and to ensure they had a strong and caring voice in this chamber.
Yeah, that's good.
And Honorable Speaker, I know that that is each and every one of us in this chamber, whether it's on this side of the House or the side opposite. We are all here for that same reason. Also of great importance was the ability to change others in this chamber challenge others in this chamber when I believe an error has been made. And therefore, I get to exercise my legislative rights to raise a matter of privilege in this House. I have always stood for what is right, even when that stance is unpopular or uncomfortable to express. We may disagree in this chamber, but we all serve Manitobans, and that must come first. As we all serve Manitobans for what is best for everyone, it is incumbent upon each and every one of us to ensure our voice is heard and we have the opportunity to challenge these errors.
Order, please. I'd request that the member kindly get to his matter of privilege. He's talked for quite a while and we still have no idea what that matter of privilege is. Order. The honourable member for Brandon West.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, for the guidance. As I mentioned earlier in this, I'm new to this chamber and I'm slowly starting to learn all of the rules of order, and I appreciate you making sure that I stay on track. And as I said, that the House of Commons Procedure and Practice, the 3rd edition, Bosch and Gagnon clearly spelled out the expectations and the freedoms needed for us to go along our work. So I'll continue getting to where my matter of privilege is, Honourable Speaker. As I said, we may disagree in this chamber, but we all serve the Manitobans and the Manitobans that put us here. And you know what? It's important that factual errors or statements that are incorrect, misleading, or leave false impressions on our powers here at the provincial level are addressed. Manitobans deserve the truth, and fact-based, as a matter of fact, evidence-based information needs to be shared in this chamber and outside of this chamber when we are addressing Manitobans, whether that be during campaigns or while speaking during session. Everyday Manitobans implore us to bring them information that they can trust and understand from a layman's perspective, not veiled in wording that confuses or twists the meaning of what has been presented. And that, Honourable Speaker, is why I must bring this concern forward, as it has impacted my ability to represent the citizens of Brandon West and therefore all citizens of Manitoba. Bosch and Gagnon write about the difference between privilege and contempt and the fact that certain actions are affronts against this very chamber. One of the listed examples is deliberately attempting to mislead the House.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that is an action that this Premier has undertaken in response to myself and other members on this side of the House
Evading the question.
when they're raising concerns. Honorable Speaker, you may be compelled to recognize these differences as a matter of debate, but it is much more clear-cut, and I will provide specific, irrefutable examples throughout my
No, it's coming. It's coming.
throughout my matter of
Patience.
privilege.
It's coming.
Manitobans have been clear. Public safety is one of the most important concerns that they have. It's been expressed by the Premier and his party, as well as our party, the utmost importance of public safety.
Yeah, that's good. That's so important. Oh, yeah. So important.
Thank you. And I will add to that again, Honorable Speaker, that I've spent my career 33 years, over 3 decades.
Order, please. I would ask the member to please get back to his matter of privilege and direct his comments to his matter of privilege. The Honourable Member for Brandon East.
Thank you again.
Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Oh, Brandon West, okay. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and as you're aware, I have some hearing difficulties, so I have to take a moment to use the hearing device in order to catch exactly what you're saying. I appreciate, again, the information that you're providing me to continue on this, this route. So, I have to find where I was, sorry. Manitobans have been clear that public safety is one of the most important concerns that they have. And that is where it's leading to my matter of privilege that I rise in this House to speak about today, Honourable Speaker. Manitobans not only expect a safe and secure community, but they deserve it. They deserve to be able to leave their homes and walk to their cars, walk in their communities, their neighborhoods, and not only have the feeling that they are safe, but know that they are safe and protected. Manitobans want to be able to go out with their families, with their children, with their grandchildren, and with their great-grandchildren, to walk in parks, in playgrounds, at fairs, and know that they will all return home safe and sound after a day of family time and adventure. Manitobans want and deserve to know that if they are the unfortunate victims of a crime, especially one of violence, that they will be protected from reoccurrence and that offenders will be dealt with appropriately, justly, and timely. Honorable Speaker, I have been fortunate to protect the people of Brandon, Westman, and all of Manitoba since 1990, when I began my law enforcement career.
How many years?
I have worked the front lines of uniformed policing, attending to Manitobans' 911 calls. Calls that are often made during the worst circumstances imaginable, and while our citizens are experiencing trauma that many of you in this chamber can only imagine in your very worst nightmares. I have worked in detective units where I've been assigned to follow up on horrific...
Order, please. I've asked the member a couple of times now to please keep his comments relevant to his matter of privilege. I believe he's giving a nice political speech, but please, let's hear what your matter of privilege is. The honourable member for Brandon West.
For the guidance.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I will certainly get to that matter of privilege. I've touched on it a couple of times, and I will continue to make sure that. I'm sorry?
The government house leader is giving advice.
Order, please.
Why is Nanny giving advice?
Order, please. The honourable member for Brandon West has the floor.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Appreciate that very much, and the opportunity to continue my matter of privilege here in this House. As I said, some of the areas, while I was a detective, I would be assigned to follow up on some of these horrific crimes that happen within our province and within our cities, and crimes that victims hope and pray that their offenders will be locked away for life. A lot of them look to bail reform for this, to the bail system. And that's where I am heading with this point of privilege, Honourable Speaker. I've also been in the drug enforcement units where we focused on traffickers who brought
He's getting there. He's getting there.
powdered death to our communities. And I speak of these because,
What was the molestation?
Wow, member for St. John's.
I'm sorry,
Right now.
Order, please.
Member from St.
The
John's. is
member
heckling.
from Brandon West still has the floor.
Okay, you're good.
sorry,
Nanny keeps
I can
giving
only
advice.
imagine the member from St. John's is heckling and not listening to this very important matter of
Order,
privilege.
please. The member would please address his matter of privilege, and never mind what the rulings of the Speaker are about calling order. Please get to your matter of privilege sooner rather than later. The honourable member for Brandon West.
Sorry. Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I appreciate the guidance. Again, I speak about the traffickers and the drug traffickers that bring in this powdered death to our communities because it's one of the causes of crime. And it's certainly an area that the Premier and this NDP government has spoke about is being tough on crime, but the causes of crime. And if it's not recognized in my matter of privilege that causes of crime are what has brought us to this matter of privilege, that is why I'm bringing this forward, Honourable Speaker. I've also been in executive positions within our police service where I got to advocate for real change on the bail system
Okay, there we're
at a
getting there.
national
He's
level,
getting there.
where federal laws
Yep.
that are embedded in such statutes as the Criminal Code of Canada and the Controlled Drug and Substances Act are legislated. These are both areas that we need to recognize are federal issues, Honourable Speaker. And the relevance for this is that bail reform can only be done at a federal level, Honourable Speaker.
Okay, good
It
job.
cannot be done, as has been spoken to.
There we go. That's right.
Yeah, it is too bad. It is too bad we didn't win.
Order.
You nailed it.
Nailed it.
It cannot be done
You
at a
should be
provincial
one to
level
talk.
without consultation and direction from the
Not
federal
helping your
government.
team.
They are the ones that make legislation at the federal level, such as the Criminal Code of Canada and
Order, please. I've repeatedly asked the member to get to his matter of privilege, I'd strongly advise him to get to his matter of privilege now, and I'd ask the Government House Leader to please refrain from commenting, particularly when the Speaker is standing. Order. Order. Once again, the Speaker is standing. That means your applause comes to a stop, chatter comes to a stop, and you show the Speaker the position, the respect it deserves, and I will expect that in the future. The Honourable Member from Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker. I appreciate those words of wisdom as in my career. Having that respect for the authority has always been paramount, and I hope I observe that daily with you in this House.
Hear, hear. Good point.
I'm having a difficult time sometimes getting to the text of my member or order of privilege, Honourable Speaker, because I keep getting heckling, and of course I have to stop and listen to what's being said before I can go forward. So I will continue on this path, and thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Heckling.
My commitment to public safety is unwavering, and I dedicated my entire life to the study, practice, and implementation of public safety initiatives, including bail reform. And this has included over 33 years as a law enforcement officer, as a member of research committees on such topics as bail reform, involvement in local, provincial, and national committees that focus on public safety and bail reform. And I can bring, in these levels, a voice to federal laws, something that
Order, please. I've asked the member from Brandon West to please tell me what his matter of privilege is. I've asked him several times, and I would strongly recommend that he puts down his prepared speech and tells us what the matter of privilege is which he wishes to have us address. The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Speaker, I appreciate the guidance again. I've mentioned it a few times that my matter of privilege has to do with bail and bail reform, and the fact that bail is actually a federal jurisdiction when it comes to bail reform and not a provincial jurisdiction, as was brought forward by this Premier and his party during elections. So we've also heard, Honourable Speaker, that false and misleading information in this chamber during question periods, during speeches by this side of the House, as well as during their campaigns. So that is some of my concerns on this matter of privilege, Honourable Speaker,
You can't do your job.
is that I can't effectively do my job as an MLA, but secondly, as the critic
Oh, no, you don't.
for justice.
Get up and put this on the record.
When false and misleading statements are presented in this House. And I have
Yes, yes, we're all
the
listening.
commitment
You should listen.
to Manitobans to make sure that information that is put out in this House is relevant, is true, and is timely. And so I wanted to make sure that I brought this matter of privilege forward because I'm deeply rooted in safety.
Yep.
And I want to make sure that all Manitobans have the opportunity to be
Order,
safe.
please.
To be
I'd ask the member to now conclude his matter of privilege. I've asked the member to please conclude his matter of privilege. The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you for the guidance, Honourable Speaker. I have a few more points that I must bring forward on this matter of privilege because it's absolutely relevant to what we have been talking about on bail reform.
Yeah.
I don't find it a laughing matter myself. I find
That's
it
right.
extremely serious.
Yeah.
So, and I would ask that members opposite respect the matter of privilege that is brought forward. Again, as a new member, I've read through some of the directions of this House, and one of them is the matter of privilege, and it should be given due respect, Honourable Speaker. So again, getting back to the time that I think it's important being a lifetime learner on these areas of law and of bail reform. It is certainly important that I, as a critic for justice, as a member of this legislative assembly, and as a representative of my constituents of Brandon West, that I have the ability to bring this matter of privilege forward and touch on the many points that I think Manitobans should be aware of, that Manitobans have maybe been misled on, or their guidance isn't necessarily where I think it should be regarding federal bail reform. And that's why, Honourable Speaker, I have brought this matter of privilege forward regarding bail reform and the misguidance that has been put out to Manitobans.
By Nanny.
And I want to make sure that they're well aware of this as I continue on, Honourable Speaker. So I can continue to articulate and discuss bail reform and what can't be done on the Canadian and Manitoban stage.
Order,
with this
please. The member from Brandon West is beginning to try my patience. I've asked him to please conclude his matter of privilege, and I would ask that he now concludes it. The honourable member from Brandon West.
In conclusion.
Well, thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. When pressed on this vital subject of bail reform, this Premier has reiterated commitments that he made in the election regarding bail reform. Indeed, he is conflating the terms with bail monitoring and has misrepresented this legislature's ability to change and influence the Criminal Code of Canada. So with that said, Honourable Speaker, there are many areas of this that need to be looked at regarding bail reform and the fact that it cannot be changed at a provincial level. So considering all of this, Honourable Speaker, I move, seconded by the member for Swan River, that this matter be referred to an all-party committee for review.
Before recognizing any other members to speak, I would remind the House that remarks at this time by honourable members are limited to strictly relevant comments about whether the alleged matter of privilege has been raised at the earliest opportunity and whether the prima facie case has been established. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, which Honourable Speaker. So the member opposite and I have one thing that we agree on, and that is that it is a fact that he's just a new member, just recently getting elected, so he's been elected for a couple of minutes now, and certainly doesn't understand what a matter of privilege is and how important and actually quite honestly how sacred a matter of privilege is within our legislatures and parliament. And so he is doing the bidding of his members, his caucus there, to try to stand up in this House. He's actually going against what he was actually voted in for, which is to do the work of the chamber, to do what he's elected to do, which is to debate bills. But he's being used by members in his caucus to delay our legislation, our legislative agenda, which is really, really good legislative agenda. So I'm looking forward to when they're going to hear from our members on their legislation. So again, Honourable Speaker, I would question and I would submit to the House that this is not the earliest opportunity that the member opposite had to raise this supposed matter of privilege. And secondly, Honourable Speaker, it simply isn't a matter of privilege. Let's get on with the business of this House. Let us move into introduction of bills and do the work that we are elected to do.
Good point.
On the matter of privilege raised by the honourable member for Brandon West, I would like to inform the House that this is clearly a difference of facts. Past Manitoba speakers have ruled on several similar occasions that a dispute between two members as allegations of fact does not constitute a breach of privilege. Bosque and Gagnon advise on page 148 of the House of Commons Procedure and Practice that if a question of privilege involves a disagreement between two or more members as to facts, the Speaker typically rules that such a dispute does not prevent members from fulfilling their parliamentary functions, nor does such a disagreement breach the collective privileges of the House. Beauchesne citation 31 sub 1 advises that a dispute arising between two members as to allegations of facts does not fulfill the condition of parliamentary privilege. Joseph Mangot on page 223 of the second edition of Parliamentary Privilege in Canada states, a dispute between two members about questions of facts set in a debate does not constitute a valid question of privilege because it is a matter of debate. I would therefore rule that the honourable member does not have a prima facie matter of privilege. The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I respectfully challenge your ruling.
The ruling of the Speaker has been challenged. All those in favor of the ruling, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Nay. I believe the ayes have it. The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
I really thought we had it that time, Honourable Speaker. I would like a recorded vote.
A recorded vote has been called. Please call in the members. The question for the House is, shall the ruling of the chair be sustained? All those in favor in the House, please rise.
Okay, nice and slow.
Honorable Mr. Canoe,
Honorable Mr. Canoe,
Honorable Minister Fontaine,
Honorable Minister Fontaine,
Honorable Minister Altamare,
Honorable Minister Altamare,
Honorable Mr. Weeb,
Honorable Mr. Weeb,
Honorable Minister Asaguara,
Honorable Minister Asaguara,
Honorable Minister Sala,
Honorable Minister Sala,
Honorable Mr. Costician,
Honorable Minister Costician,
Honorable Ms. Smith,
Honorable Ms. Smith,
Ms. Lathland,
Ms. Laughlin,
Honorable Mr. Bushy,
Honorable Mr. Bushy,
Honorable Minister Marcelino,
Honorable Minister Marcelino,
Honorable Minister Schmidt,
Honorable Minister Schmidt,
Honorable Mr. Moses,
Honorable Mr. Moses,
Honorable Minister Cable,
Honorable Minister Cable,
Honorable Minister Naylor,
Honorable Minister Naylor,
MLA Sandu,
MLA Sandu,
Mrs. Schott,
Mrs. Schott,
Mr. Blaschko, oh wait, shoot, sorry, MLA Malloway,
MLA Malloway,
Mr. Blaschko,
Mr. Blaschko,
MLA Chen,
MLA Chen,
MLA Moyes,
MLA Moyes,
MLA Pankratz,
MLA Pankratz,
MLA Devgan,
MLA Devgan,
MLA Loisel,
MLA Loisel,
Mr. Oxenham,
Mr. Oxenham,
MLA Dela Cruz,
MLA Dela Cruz,
Mr. Brar,
Mr. Brar,
MLA Morose,
MLA Morose,
Mr. Vazalou.
Mr. Vasilou.
All those in the House opposed, please rise.
Okay.
Mr. Iwaska,
Mr. Owasco,
Mr. Johnson,
Mr. Johnson,
Mr. Panyuk,
Mr. Panyuk,
Mr. Nesbitt,
Mr. Nesbitt,
Mr. Wharton,
Mr. Wharton,
Ms. Byram,
Ms. Byram,
Mr. Wochuk,
Mr. Wochuk,
Mr. Balkan,
Mr. Balkan,
Mr. Schuler,
Mr. Schuler,
MLA Bariza,
MLA Bariza,
Mr. Ginter,
Mr. Ginter,
Mr. Narth,
Mr. Narth,
Mr. King,
Mr. King,
Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Jackson.
We will now conduct the alphabetical roll call of all members participating virtually. As a reminder to all virtual members, please respond clearly with either I vote yes or I vote no, only when your name is called. I would also remind members to unmute their mics only when they are recognized, and then immediately mute it again once they have declared their vote. Paige will now conduct the vote.
MLA Cross,
I vote yes.
MLA Cross votes yes.
MLA Lagasse,
I vote no.
MLA Lagasse votes no.
MLA Redhead,
I vote yes.
MLA Redhead votes yes. There you go. Sorry. Oh, yeah, no, she wasn't there in time. Yeah.
What if-
Yeah, no, we're good. Yeas 31, nays 15.
The motion is accordingly passed. The out.
Before you do that, you can just explain that the one from the tried to get on call wasn't.
I would just point out to all members that the one member that was trying to vote did not have their camera on when the bells stopped ringing, so unfortunately they can't vote at that point. The ruling of the chair has been sustained. The hour now being past 5 o'clock, this House stands adjourned and is adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow. You're slipping.
Oh, yeah.